Good evening, I'm Jose Cardenas. The loss of longtime Arizona lawmaker, lawyer, and community leader Ben Miranda. We'll hear from people who knew him. And an organization transforming the lives of disadvantaged and abandoned children with homes, educational, and healthcare programs is making a positive impact in the Caribbean and Latin America. All this coming up ahead on Horizonte.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station.
Attorney, former Arizona state lawmaker, and longtime Latino community leader Ben Miranda passed away last week. Miranda served in the Arizona House from 2003 to 2010. He also served in the U.S. Army in Vietnam, earning a Bronze Star. Miranda also contributed hundreds of hours in support of Cesar Chavez of the United Farm Workers in the 1970s and 1980s. He was married to State Representative Catherine Miranda. Miranda is survived by two daughters as well as his wife. With me to talk about Ben Miranda is Cesar Chavez, a friend of the family. Chavez is also the legislative assistant to State Representative Catherine Miranda and State Representative Lupe Chavira Contreras. Also here is Maricopa County Supervisor Mary Rose Wilcock. Thank you both for joining us on Horizonte. It's a very sad occasion. But Mary Rose, you knew Ben a long time, and in fact your husband Earl grew up with him.
He did.
Talk a little bit about that, and then I want to talk about Ben's service in the military.
Benny and Earl are both from the hood, as they call it, Marco de Niza projects, and they grew up hard. They grew up with large families, a very poor area, and struggling all the time. And Benny just was a person like my husband who said, we're going to make it. Went to school, went into the service, got the means to get his education, and worked real hard. You always remember Benny from the neighborhood. When Benny came back from the services, when I met him, I was very young, and we were all starting to work with the Cesar Chavez movement. And Benny was at the Legion, very loyal. I think he went to Vietnam, Jose, because when you grew up, and you grew up with a large Chicano family, you know, you grew up with loyalty, and it was a duty to country.
And we've got a couple of pictures of a very young-looking Ben Miranda at the time he was in the military that we're going to put up on the screen. We've talked in the past about that sense of loyalty that you think was the reason why he was so committed and why he served in Vietnam. We've got a picture of him here, I assume, during his time there. And he received a Bronze Star. We've got another picture of him getting his Bronze Star from, of all people, Barry Goldwater. And I say that with no disrespect for Senator Goldwater, but politically, they probably couldn't have been further apart.
But Barry Goldwater helped start the American Legion Post 41, and that was a post that was very important to Benny and all the neighborhood. So I'm sure that picture might be at the post. So I don't think it's odd, because the post really reveres Barry Goldwater. But Benny was tough, and you know, he went to Vietnam. I talked to him later years. I don't think he really believed in Vietnam, but a sense of duty, a sense of pride. And then look, he got a Bronze Star. He was very brave. That's what he did his whole life. You know, he worked very hard, was very loyal, and gave back to the community as he gave to his country. And
that commitment to the military, in a way, manifested itself for the rest of his life. He was very active with veterans.
For his whole life, the Tony Sosa Post 41, the American Legion Post, which is in the heart of the community, and Goldwater helped establish that. Veteranos came back from World War II and could not join any other post because of race and because of discrimination. So Barry Goldwater leased them land that they built their own post. Benny was a member of that when he came back from Vietnam. And we're all intimately involved with the post. In fact, recently, Benny was at the Veterans Parade on Veterans Day, was at the post afterwards all day celebrating with everybody, just the pride of the Hispanic community in their veterans. Recently, he and Earl had many talks. Benny was on the Maricopa County School Board, his last post, and he was looking to do veteran services at the post with school board permission to include the community colleges. Phoenix University was working with he and Earl, and their dream was to have a veteran service center there with possibly veteran housing in the Grant Park area. Hopefully we can keep that dream alive. But Benny was devoted.
I understand that one of the, I'm sure what will be one of many services or remembrances that's coming up is something that the Post is planning.
Yes, the Post is going to host a luncheon after the funeral for the family. I think if you had it any place else, it wouldn't be appropriate. Benny was part and parcel of the Post. He was loyal to it. They're loyal to him. But more importantly, he gave back a lot. I'm sure a lot of the members benefited from just legal advice he would give them, help he would give them. Their children probably benefited from the scholarship programs that he did. Benny was a big man with a big heart, and I never know of an occasion when somebody asked Benny to help that he didn't help. He had annual Christmas parties at his law office, and it wasn't just to have fun. He'd make you donate so he could give scholarships to kids. So that's the kind of person he was.
He was committed to the community. And Cesar, you had a very personal familiarity with that in terms of how you met Ben, and tell us about that.
Definitely. I met Ben about 10 years ago, and I was actually a mariachi singer, and the last song that I performed of my set list was Caminos de Guanajuato de José Alfredo Jiménez. And as soon as I got off that stage, Ben had his hand out. He said, "That is my favorite song because that was my dad's favorite song. My parents were from Michoacán, immigrated to the United States to work here. We were a migrant migrant farming family, and that was very dear to my heart because coming from Mexico, immigrating at a very young age, living in the projects as well, and having this impactful story that was very close in connection to mine, I automatically befriended Ben for that reason. And then afterwards, just hearing his legacy, hearing his work and his ethic of helping others without expecting anything in return. That's really what Ben was all about. Like Mary said, he was a big man with a big heart. He never turned anybody down.
Let's talk about some of the work that he did, specifically with your namesake, Cesar Chavez. Ben comes back from Vietnam. He goes to ASU undergrad. He goes to law school. He graduates with a Dean's Award, becomes a very prominent, successful lawyer, but uses those skills not only for his own personal injury practice, but for the benefit of the community, and specifically in support of Cesar Chavez.
Definitely. He became very close when he met Cesar Chavez and Bill Soltero.
Yeah.
They became very close. Ben, in a recent interview, pretty much said anything that happened here in Arizona pretty much never happened without Bill Soltero being with Cesar Chavez, and then him viewing his two mentors.
And in fact, we have a picture of the three of them together. You only see Ben and Bill kind of on the sides, but we'll put that picture up right now.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, beautiful picture.
And as I understand it, whenever Chavez was here, Ben was with him.
Definitely. I believe Cesar Chavez to Ben was what Ben was to me, being able to firsthand witness the change that an individual can make because of his or her beliefs. And Ben became Cesar's attorney. And just being impacted by what a man's humble thought would then make a huge difference on a national level. Very, very impactful.
Jose,
Mary Rose,
I don't
let's
know
talk.
if you know.
You were very involved in all of this.
I was very involved, and Ben and Bill Soltero, first of all, were foremost for the working man, as Cesar was. And Ben helped a lot. In fact, when Cesar was going through the trials in Yuma, Ben was there. He organized a lot of us to go down and support. And when Cesar died in Yuma, Ben was the one who arranged the plane to transport his body home. And I think you put it very, very well, that was his mentor. Bill Soltero was very close to Ben and one of his mentors. And when Chavez came in, Benny just gave unconditionally. I remember many times he would come, he would host them, we'd have marches, and Benny would be there organizing it for him. But he just gave, and I'm sure he never got a cent for any of that, but he was very, very good to Bill Soltero and to Chavez. And I think Chavez really appreciated that. I remember when Chavez died, we all went up to 40 Acres for the funeral, and Ben helped organize buses that could take people who admired Chavez and who were advocates for the farm workers so that they could go. I'm sure he financed some of it, raised some money, and we took about 5 busloads up.
Now, at a certain point, Ben decided he wanted to be in the legislature.
Yes.
Why? And we've got a couple of pictures of him in his campaigns that we're going to put on the screen while
Well,
we're
Benny
talking.
always felt very strongly for the community. You know, he always felt.
This is him, another young
That's it.
picture of him, and we've got another one coming up. But you know, he's a successful lawyer. He could have done very well without spending, and he'd already paid his dues, so to speak, to the community, and yet he decides to go to the legislature.
I think he wanted to make changes that were systemic changes, and because he was a lawyer, he knew you do that through state statutes and state laws, and that's what he wanted to do. I think he always felt that children got the short end of the stick, and he wanted to make sure that education issues were followed in the legislature. There was a position open in the Roosevelt School Board, and Benny came to me because the county appointed and said, I'd really like to do that. He also served in the Roosevelt School Board, and then he ran for the Phoenix Union School Board. My sister-in-law, Linda Brill, is on the school board and served with him. And she has a really, I called her today to ask her, what can I say about Benny? And one of her quotes was, Benny always called to rattle off complaints with sincere concern. You know, then that's Benny. Benny always called, he was always mad or angry about something and would tell you, this isn't right, you know it's not right, Mary Rose. And you'd say, I know, Benny, I know. And then he'd tell you what we should do. And then he'd ask for your feedback, you'd give it to him. Or he'd say, what do you think we should do? And I just think he wanted to be involved, whether it was at the state, at the local, at the school board. You know, that was his mantra. I want to be involved.
And I've read some of the blog comments that have come out since he passed. And one of the people who served with him in the legislature described him as difficult to work with, but he said difficult for the right reasons.
That's it, that's it. Benny was almost, he could scare some people because he would start yelling. And I knew why he was yelling, and I never got scared, but Benny was pretty forceful. But then he always did the right thing, you know. And one of the things about Benny, and we talked about it earlier, is that if Benny felt he had gone too far, he'd always apologize and say, you know, I didn't mean it, and, you know, give you a hug. But he said, but it's very big concern for me. So Benny was very, very forceful. There was also a real good side for the community. He was very involved with boxing. When Michael Carbajal was the silver medal winner for the Olympics, Benny got involved with he and his brother and helped them negotiate Michael's career. Was a big boxing aficionado and just really helped a lot of, you know, young athletes, young students coming up. So Benny was just always there.
Now, Cesar, I know your time at the legislature working for the representatives that you work for didn't overlap with Ben's time there, but you must have had a sense for how he was regarded there. My sense from reading everything is that he was considered kind of like the soul of the legislature, the conscience there.
Definitely. You saw Ben walk into the House of Representatives and he would salute everybody. He'd say hi to the janitor, to security, to freshman legislators, to people that served with him, the assistants. I mean, Ben was just filled with joy. And I think with that quote that you just said, in which he was difficult to work with, but for the right reasons, he didn't base his thoughts on whether it was a Democratic value or a Republican value. He just did what was right for his pueblo, what was right for the state of Arizona. So that's why he was so respected in a sense that he gave an opinion, but an opinion that would take our legislature a very long way. And in the time that Ben served, I mean, many times, and I was actually also reading, he was very, very controversial in a sense that what he said, people didn't want to hear. He always told it like it was. People didn't want to hear it because they knew it was the truth. But because they stuck to their party, he always went down the middle and said, Democrats, we need to do this. Republicans, you guys are doing this wrong. You know, he was just never afraid to speak.
His last big fight in the legislature was SB 1070. Yeah. And his activities against that legislation weren't limited to the legislature. We've got a picture of him and his involvement in the massive march of a few years ago. I think it was like 200,000 people, and here's a picture of him on the screen. Tell us about his activities there.
Definitely one of the largest movements in the United States was something that Ben headed, and it was because of his passion. He really did believe that everybody that is in this country should have a lawful right to somehow be able to stay in this country. the working class that came to this country because they pay taxes, because they provide to the economy of the United States, should have the right to be able to become a part of this country. And that's what he fought till the end. I saw a couple of interviews that he did with other networks, and just the way that he worded it, you start to think, and it's like, you know what, if everybody thought like Ben Miranda, we would be in a better place.
And one of his other passions, and you've touched on it a little bit, Mary Rosa, was education.
Education.
He not only served on the school boards, his last position, in fact, the one he was holding when he passed, was with the Community College District, Maricopa County Community College District. We've got a couple of pictures we'll put on the screen that kind of illustrate his commitment to education, but tell us more about that.
Well, particularly when Benny was on the Phoenix Union High School Board, that's when Dreamers came into being, and just their whole life started changing. People started realizing all of these children here who were brought at 2 or 3 years of age, and Benny did so much for the Dreamers through Phoenix Union High School. He would even, when DACA came out, that legalized Dreamers, I know he paid a lot of their fees so that they could apply. One little boy was saying, Benny, I don't have a laptop, I can't even look.
I don't mean to interrupt, but
Sure.
there's a picture of him reading to school children.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the way he met his wife, Catherine. She was a kindergarten teacher, and he was reading to her class. If I'm not mistaken, I
So he
think
must
they
have done a
met
really
through
good
that.
job.
I know he did a good job. But Benny, look at it: Roosevelt School Board, Phoenix Union School Board, and Maricopa County Community College. When he told me he was going to run for that, I said, "Good, Benny. You can link everything together, because that's what it's about: making sure our high school kids, our first of all, our elementary and then high school, get into college." And that's what Benny wanted to do, tie them all together. I can't begin to tell you how many people are going to miss him, because Benny had an open heart, an open wallet. He would fund so much and do it very humbly that people wouldn't even know about it. But you knew, you'll run into people all over. I bet people at the Post would be talking about it, for years, how Benny helped out. Families will be affected. Everybody's going to miss him a lot. But his devotion to his community was tremendous. He lived in the South Side, very prideful of being a Mexicano, Mexican-American, very, very prideful of it. And that showed in everything he did. And I think you're right, Cesar, when he came in, he was a presence. He came in, he always had his jacket flapping, and he just huge always, huge. And hey, Benny, how are you doing? And you knew there was going to be excitement around there, because Benny was always echando. He was great.
Well, he certainly will be missed. Thank you both for joining us to try to capture as best we can in just a few short minutes the life of a very important figure in Arizona history and a good man for our community. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Your incoming senior class is what, 40+% Hispanic?
41% Hispanic, and I'm proud to say that 6 of those are eligible to become National Hispanic Scholars, which is a tremendous achievement. In the past, we've seen National Hispanic Scholars from our school go to Harvard and Williams College and MIT, for example. Those students are really heavily recruited, and we actually have a lot of colleges and universities come to our relatively small campus to recruit our students, and one of the reasons is because we have a large number of high-achieving Hispanic students.
In 1992, Miriam Flores sued the state for failing to properly educate her daughter, who was a student in the Nogales Unified School District at the time. 15 years later, the Flores versus Arizona case still struggles to find resolution in the courts. But Mrs. Flores' daughter, who's also named Miriam, is in college now at the U of A.
Muy largo y muy duro. Es difícil. Y es más difícil cuando, creo yo que es el doble difícil cuando eres hispano y has tenido los problemas del idioma, ¿no? Creo que es el doble.
When Miriam's daughter first entered school, she remembers everything being just fine. The daughter's first language was Spanish, and the school was offering classes that catered to native Spanish speakers.
If you graph the arrival pattern of every other major immigrant wave of the last 150 years, there's a run-up, a spike, a subsidence, and then an almost complete petering out. whether it's Germans, Irish, Italians, Eastern European Jews. They all had a run-up, a peak, a subsidence, and then a diminishment to tiny numbers.
NPH USA is dedicated to improving the lives of abandoned and orphaned children by supporting the Nuestros Pequeños Hermanos, our little brothers and sisters, homes in Latin America and the Caribbean. Joining me to talk about NPH USA is James Hoyt, Southwest Regional Director for NPH USA. Deacon Hoyt, thank you for joining us on Horizonte. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir. Tell us about the history of the organization.
The organization started around 60 years ago. It was founded by an Arizona native, William Wasson, who went to St. Mary's Grade School and St. Mary's High School. Had gone on to, had a great desire to become a priest. Ended up completing his degree at the University of California, Santa Barbara in legal studies and was teaching law down at the American University in Mexico City. He still had a strong desire to become a priest, and one of the monks from the Benedictine monastery told him to meet with the Bishop of Cuernavaca, southwest of Mexico City, to be able to talk about his vocation. The bishop accepted him in, and in 1953, William Wasson was ordained a priest for the Diocese of Cuernavaca. He was assigned to a very, very poor market parish in the center of Cuernavaca, and in 1954, someone stole the poor box. The sacristan was very irate and set up a trap hoping that the thief would come again. A couple days later, the thief came, grabbed the poor box. The sacristan grabbed the thief in the poor box and dragged the thief down to jail and called for Father Wasson to press charges. When Father Wasson arrived at the jail, he found a 14-year-old boy named Carlos behind bars. And he asked Carlos, why did he steal the money? And he said he was hungry. And Father Wasson said, why don't you go home and eat? And he said, my father's deceased and my mother's boyfriend beats me, so I live on the streets. So Father spoke with the police and said that what Carlos needed was someone to care for him and to mentor him, and could he do that? And so Carlos returned with Father Wasson back to the rectory. Little did Father Wasson realize that by the end of the first month, the police would send him 8 more boys.
So that's how it all began.
Right, right.
We've heard for years about Father Wasson and his activities. Was he in Sonora for a while, and that's where one of his orphanages was?
No, he started in Cuernavaca after they outgrew the rectory, and then went into an abandoned brewery, and then later went to Acolman, which is closer to Mexico City.
So how did what he started morph into NPH?
There was no strategic plan. By the end of the first year, they sent him 32 boys, and soon after, the family grew to over 1,000 children in Mexico.
And now it's not just in Mexico, it's all over Latin America, Central America, as well as Mexico.
Correct. It's expanded into Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Honduras, Bolivia, Peru, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic.
And how many kids are we talking about total?
We care for over 3,400 children that are residents in our homes. In addition to that, in addition to the homes for orphan, abandoned, and disadvantaged children, we have outreach programs. Our largest ones are in Haiti with a pediatric hospital, surgical hospital, 2 adult hospitals, a cholera clinic, 28 street schools.
And let's talk about what NPH USA does to support those efforts.
Right. We were actually founded by Father Wasson's mom and dad, his brother Barney, and his first cousin George. And it was in response as more and more children that were in need were coming to Father Wasson's home. The financial resources were needed to be able to support that. And Father Wasson believed that it was only through a quality education that would help his children break the cycle of poverty into which they were born. So education was costly, and NPH USA started over 50 years ago of starting to meet the financial needs.
Raising monies to help with these educational efforts. We've got a website on the screen. Before that, we had a phone number. That's where people can contact the organization to donate money?
Yes.
And the variety of programs, I went on your website, they're very interesting. The variety of programs that you fund is phenomenal in terms of what you do with these kids.
Right. The main thing is that the children come with their brothers and sisters or siblings to live inside of a larger family unit. And Father wanted to keep the families together. So in 60 years, none of the children have been adopted out. One of the things that is hard to understand, people question why don't we adopt the children out? we care for children that because of legal reasons and the lack of either a death certificate or a formal letter of abandonment, these children cannot be adopted out to Mexican families nor internationally. And so that was the main focus area that Father Wasson was helping.
Well, while we've been talking, we've had some wonderful pictures on the screen of the kids that you're helping. This is a great effort, great organization, and hopefully people will take it to heart and help support the organization. Thank you so much for joining us on Horizonte to talk about this.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's our show for tonight. From all of us here at Horizonte, I'm Jose Cardenas. Have a good evening.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station.